Very quickly, before I begin, I do want to say that when I hit 1,000 subs on this channel, I will be starting a brand new channel that will be just for tutorials, and I'll be posting frequently on there. So if you want me to bring back tutorials, make sure to subscribe and get your friends to as well, so I can start bringing out high quality tutorials just like I used to. Moving on. Well, we are finally coming to the end of this horrible year, and Christmas is upon us. My upload schedule will probably change slightly during this time, but I'm currently doing a lot of PS5 streaming over on Twitch. So if you're interested, head to the link in the description or search up my name on Twitch. Also, if you live in the UK and you live around London, you'll know we just got put into tier 4. I just wanted to say I hope you're all staying safe and keeping motivated and all of that stuff. In the last devlog for this random little game, I started to build a base little test area for our little orb wielding guy. Gave him a very stupid enemy who can chase him and made some other small changes. In the last few days, I've discovered that I hate lighting and rendering, every part of it. I hate directional lights, I hate making objects static, I hate baking times, I hate light bleeding through walls, and many other aspects of it. But I love it at the same time. In today's video, you'll find out why. Enjoy the video. Hey guys, Blakey here and welcome back to another video. I hope you're all doing well and getting through the final month of 2020. This past week or so, I've thought about this project a lot more and realised that I really do want to push myself to make a good game out of this. So I'm really trying to push myself to build a professional game concept from this project. I started off by adding some more development to this little enemy in the world. I wanted to build a mechanic where the player can knock the enemy back in some way, as obviously he will pose some sort of threat in the game at some point, and I want to give the player some power. This wasn't too hard to implement, as the enemy already would fly back if the player collided with him, which must just be the nature of the nav mesh. So all I needed to do was, after the player collided with it, freeze the enemy rigid body, then unfreeze it to prevent it sliding off forever. Nice and easy, a simple concept, and it warms me back into the project after my break. Again, I hope nobody is picking up on the fact that my breaks are way too frequent to even be considered as separate breaks. Moving on. In my game, I have a brilliant system, handcrafted by yours truly, which is based around forces. The script has many different functions, all based around raycasts and the camera. Because I have the foundations laid out for me, I can use these functions and duplicate them and add them and stuff like that to build loads of cool mechanics. One of them being a more advanced knockback. I wanted a system where, in the same way I get pushed or pulled towards game objects, I can push and pull other enemies. And like I said, because of the script already in place, I could just rearrange the words slightly and have a system where when the raycast hits the enemy and I press a button, he gets launched back, giving the player a potential opportunity to escape or take a breather or whatever they're doing. Now of course, as it is my system, there are incredibly annoying bugs which take me the majority of the day to figure out, and today's bug was an issue with the raycast. For whatever reason, it was just inconsistent. Sometimes it hit the enemy and sometimes it didn't. Most of the time in fact, it hit, but the few times it didn't could be the one chance the player gets to survive, so I didn't want to take that chance and leave it in the game. I had to figure it out. So I began to debug different areas and issues using the debug.log to give me a visual idea of when it hits and when it doesn't. This didn't really help. I then did a top-down view of the scene in-game to see if the raycast was incorrectly positioned, but again this wasn't an issue. Everything seemed fine to me. The next step for me in debug stage is just to disable different components to see if I can single it down to one game object or its component. And I managed to single it down to the rigid body of the enemy. I then actually found out that it was the enemy not being kinematic that was the issue. If a rigid body is kinematic, forces, joints and collisions no longer affect it. I'm sure you could see my dilemma I had here. If you don't, let me just show you how it looks when an enemy is kinematic. Yeah, the whole system is it's in the bins right now, lads. But yet, there is hope due to my genius. I found a fix. I used the coroutine, of course, to make the rigid body non-kinematic when the player hits the enemy, then at the end of the coroutine I enable it again. Surely this won't work first time, surely. Oh, praise the Lord, boys and girls. We have ascended humanity. It's happened, lads. Doing this means the raycast, for whatever reason, is now always a hit, and the enemy will always get the knockback effect. Give me a round of applause, please. No? Yeah, moving on. Now for my favourite part of the video. Lights, lighting, baking and rendering. Yay! For some reason, I've always wanted the game to start inside a room, with a lot of it being dark, but having some artificial light somewhere in the room. And I'm not quite sure why I want it like this yet, but I'm sure my brain will tell me at some point. Anyway, I began rearranging the space, building this new room and making sure it has absolutely no space for light to come in. Oh, how I am an idiot. You'll see why. But first, let's put some more realistic lighting in and do some nice simple baking. Oh, we've got to wait a little while? Oh yeah, that's fine, that's fine. I must have spent at least 10% of the last 10 hours in the project just on baking lights, at least. I begin to see why people wait so long between light baking big scenes. It is pain. It's pain. Anyway, after a few tweaks here and there, it started to look a little better. But there was this one issue where it looked like some walls were just not being affected properly, and this was killing me. It must have taken me at least 3 hours to realise that all I needed to do was to set the strength of the main light to 1 for everything to be even again. I don't know why I document these things, because I just out myself as a complete idiot. At least it saves you guys making the same mistake. Regardless, the end result of this room was worth it, and it looks very cool. I have a feeling the start of the game is going to be given quite an eerie, immersive vibe to it. Either that, or I'll just scrap the whole thing and make a whole different game. I will see where it takes me. Before I wrap up this video, there is one last thing I have begun to experiment with, and that is enemy health. Now, because I only have one enemy currently, the script is not great for a full scene with multiple enemies and stuff, but for just testing stages it works fine. All it is when the enemy gets knocked back, it also loses 2 health points. So obviously if he has 4 health points overall, the enemy will be a 2 hit. At the moment, all he does is just pop into non-existence when he dies. But as always, I will be flaring this up a ton in later stages of this mysterious game to make it look like I did something that was hard. Now, like I said, with just one enemy this is fine, but when I add in a second enemy, all sorts of bugs pop up. This also helped me uncover bugs and things that I needed to fix in the enemy scripts. An example of this is when the enemy quote unquote dies, I have to disable the game object. This caused an issue as in the knockback function, it searches for a rigid body that is now not active, which then causes an error. I countered this by adding an if statement in the function to only carry out the knockback coroutine if it can find an enemy in the scene, and if not, just leave it. Big brain as per usual. To generalise all of the bugs, what was happening was variables were being assigned to the wrong game objects at different times in the wrong places. And what I needed to do was ensure that variables were being assigned automatically in real time. So if I damage a new enemy, all of the scripts will forget about the previous one and focus on the current one. That is probably the best way I can explain it. After a good few hours of changing and adding countless lines of small code and little tweaks here and there, you can now put in as many enemies as you want, and they will have their own health and will not affect the others as far as I know. Maybe this will change. Knowing my games, they probably will. Well, I think that we should end this on a high note. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this week's video. Like I said at the start, help me reach that 1000 subscriber mark to see a new tutorial channel, and make sure to like the video and let me know your thoughts down below. I'll probably have one more video before the new year, so look forward to that. Lads, I'll thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.